ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music, and more.
I get to pick my own program music. I get to help with the creative process of the program. No one's gonna starve me or tell me what I can and can't eat.
Skating to Donna Summer, stripes bleached into her hair and swearing right down the barrel of the camera after her final routine. Alyssa Liu is not your traditional figure skater. Not that it matters to her. She's an Olympic gold medalist now. Considering she retired from the sport 4 years ago, aged 16, this is a comeback story for the ages. Team USA had high hopes for these games in figure skating and they got mixed results. The highs and lows of their campaign seem to show what can happen when there are no expectations, only vibes. The result is golden. I'm Poppy Penny and this is ABC Sport Daily. Caroline Price is a sports journalist and is in Milan covering the figure skating for Forbes. The USA was once a powerhouse in women's figure skating, and this Olympic Games was expected to be the year they returned to the top of the podium for the first time since 2002. And for the men, it was Ilia Malinin carrying the hopes of that nation. I want to start with tonight's women's final, Caroline. The feel-good story in this event for the US was Alysa Liu. She retired at age 16 from the sport, made a comeback at these games age 20, and that caveat to that was that she was going to do it her way. Watching her in this final skate was joyous. How remarkable has this comeback been, culminating in gold tonight?
Truly unprecedented. I mean, I think joyous is the best way you can describe it and the best way to describe her skating since her comeback. And I think that has been the goal for Alyssa and for her coaches. And we've seen that since she came back at the World Championships last year in Boston, where she blew the field away and shocked the world, winning gold, coming back from her retirement.
Representing the United States of America, Alyssa Liu.
What a reception for this young lady.
And then going into the Olympics this week, we knew it was a really tight, tough field with Kaori Sakamoto and two other Japanese stars. It was going to be tough for Alyssa, but she continued to stay steadfast with the mentality that she and her team have held dear, which is just skating for the joy, for the love of the sport, for the performance.
I just skate to my favorite songs. Promised by Leve. I mean, it spoke to me. Her voice moves me, and I thought, wow, this is perfect for a short program.
We've never seen a skater with this mentality in recent years, and to see so much joy in an Olympic event is such a stark departure, I think, from what we saw in Beijing in 2022. So I'm appreciative of her for bringing that back to the sport, and for Kaori and Ami Nakai for sharing that joy, even in silver and bronze on the podium.
There was so much joy. I feel like we're going to use that word a lot in this interview because there was so much of it. Do you feel that mentality that Alyssa has, this newfound love for the sport and love for doing it her way, has been the key to this comeback?
Absolutely. I think we even see that this week between competitors. I think Amber Glenn obviously had this incredible redemptive skate today, which was another joyous moment. But a lot of athletes have felt the pressure over the years. There hasn't been this element of actually loving one's sport. When it comes to sports like figure skating and gymnastics, where the training is so intensive and the pressure often so immense, every 4 years, this sport is put in the spotlight for the entire world. And again, the pressure of the media, whatever it might be, there are so many things these skaters contend with. And I think Alyssa and her ability to block that noise out and simply just skate for herself. It's really the first time that we've seen a skater say that they don't get nervous and believe them. We heard that a lot from athletes, but sometimes you roll your eyes and you don't necessarily believe it. But with Alyssa, it is believable, and I think she proved that today.
You heard her say while she was waiting for her scores that skate was better than any score could be, and it turned out that score was better than anybody else could score. She is a gold medalist. I want to talk about the mental toughness side of things because I think it's such a big part of a sport like figure skating. If you fall, you have to get back up and just keep going with your routine. Amber Glenn is a national champion 3 times over, and there was a lot of expectation on her shoulders. Her short skate, as you say, did not go her way, but she did have redemption in this final. How did she go?
Amber was fantastic. I think A lot of us felt that things were going to go her way in the short program after she landed that opening triple axel, which I believe was the highest graded triple axel she had internationally since competing it. So that's usually an indicator of her mental headspace. And of course, the short program with its technical components, she downgraded the triple loop into a double loop, which was devastating. So of course, was disappointing, but she knew she hadn't fallen. She had landed cleanly despite the downgrade. So I think going into the free skate, I know she was so adamant on wanting to feel that joy and truly enjoy her Olympic moment. It seems that throughout these games, she has not been able to fully experience that yet.
I know that a lot of people say, you're just an athlete, like stick to your job, shut up about politics, but politics affect us all. It is something that I will not just be quiet about.
I think the pressure from media nationally with political involvement, there's just been a lot riding on her shoulders, especially coming in as the defending U.S. national champion.
Starting off this program with arguably one of the best triple axels I have ever seen her compete. And she has some wiggle room technically in this program.
Today, I really think she put it behind her. Yes, she put her hand down on her final jump. Again, the triple loop, which she laughed off. But I think what was key there is she did laugh it off. You saw that she was able to kind of shake her head, hug her coaches, and embrace the Olympic moment. And to see her smile throughout her program was just really heartwarming and extremely redemptive after seeing her be basically heartbroken throughout the couple weeks here in Milan.
Speaking of expectations, Ilia Malinin in the men's competition was basically a lock for the gold medal going into his skates.
Just amazing. First quad axel ever performed in an ISU Grand Prix. Got to keep his cool.
That didn't change after the short program. He looked incredible, but his free skate with a 7 quad jump plan just didn't happen for him. How heavily do you think that weight of expectation weighed on him?
I think extremely heavily. Thankfully, Ilia has been very vocal about it, which I think is important as the U.S. figure skating delegation and the international delegation moves forward. He was clear in communicating how the Olympic pressure really did get to him. And starting with the team event where, yes, he did hit his skates and helped the United States clinch gold very narrowly over Japan, but he just had not looked himself since arriving in Milan. He really had looked unbeatable up until this point. Again, I think it was a stark reminder for those who follow figure skating, for those who just follow American sports in general, that sometimes the athletes are isolated as the star of the games, and that can be too much for a young skater. We've seen it before with Simone Biles in Tokyo. She dealt with something similar and has been actively reaching out to Ilia. And I think going in, he was the quad god. He was the anointed champion of both figure skating and this Olympic Games, and it just didn't pan out for him this time. And I know he's already set his sights on the World Championships, so we'll see where he goes from here.
Do you expect that we'll see a change in this sport's approach to that kind of pressure and expectation, given we've seen what Alyssa can do with sort of without the weight of that and the way she's skating so freely and with, enjoying doing this sport for the first time in some time, and Ilia speaking out about the fact that these expectations did impact him? Do you think we will see some kind of change?
If there's going to be a turning point, it is this Olympics. Like you said, we saw kind of the stark contrast of two American stars, Alysa Liu and Ilia Malinin.
That's all I want in my life is human connection. And damn, now I'm connecting with a hella ton of people. So that's my dream. I hope that, with all this attention, I can at least raise awareness about like mental health in sports, and I think my story is pretty cool, and so I hope that inspires some people as well.
Huge expectations from the media coming into this games, and came in with very different approaches, as we saw, and achieved very different results. So I think Ilia's coaches have already been vocal in kind of restructuring and reconsidering how they prepared for the games, both in terms of training and also mentality. I think a huge conversation that's going to need to happen, and I hope happens, is about that mental preparation. What expectations do we set for skaters? How should they be viewing themselves as they step out onto that ice? Should they be engaging more with social media, which becomes, increasingly pervasive for athletes in this 21st century space?
Protecting my identity is my main goal. I know exactly what it's like to not have that. So I don't go online that much. I hang out with my friends and family as much as possible. Being grounded is really what keeps me. I'm protecting that.
Again, I think this is the time to have that conversation. And with Alysa Liu being such an excellent harbinger of this new era, I think we're going to get there.
I just want to finish by talking about Sakamoto Kaori, who today finished her Olympic career with a silver medal. She skated beautifully at these games. What has she brought to the sport in her time on the circuit?
I mean, so much. It's hard to overstate how much she has brought to the sport, both to Japanese figure skating, to figure skating as a whole in terms of longevity, especially in recent decades with some select Russian skaters. We've seen skaters not stick around for a while due to injuries, pushing their bodies beyond their abilities. But Kaori has maintained her program, her technical prowess, and stayed true to her skating. And of course, she came up just a little bit short here today, but the 3 world titles speak to itself.
Where do I start? They are such incredible athletes, and I'm just honored that I got to skate with them here, like getting to watch them, and I learned a lot from them too. They're just the best. They're so goated.
She will be remembered as an icon in skating for good reason. Truly, I think the torch was passed here today from Kaori to Ami, and she is a reason that Ami is successful today. She has ushered in a new future for Japanese figure skating in which they are or are one of the best teams in the world.
Caroline Price, an incredible competition. Thanks so much for basking in the joy of it with us today.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Poppy.
Headlines. Indra Brown has qualified for the final of the free ski half pipe. The 16-year-old qualified 4th with a top score of 87.50. There was a nasty crash in that qualifying, with Canadian Cassie Sharp coming down hard and hitting her head on the snow. Competition was paused for more than 10 minutes as she was checked and then stretchered out of the pipe. She actually qualified 3rd thanks to her first run, and the Canadian Olympic Committee say she's in a stable condition, but we don't know whether she'll take her place in the final. The USA have beaten Canada 2-1 for the gold medal in the women's ice hockey in a brutal match that went to overtime. Canada were in the box seat with 2 minutes to go in regulation, but a goal from veteran Hilary Knight in her 5th and final Olympics tied the scores and gave the US the momentum going into overtime. Megan Keller scored the winning goal and the US took the title back from Canada.
The belief that our group had the past 4 years, it's been a journey together. It was a full team effort, and everybody really loves one another. So yeah, I'd say it's just a really special group to be a part of.
Switzerland beat Sweden 2-1 for the bronze medal in that competition. We talked yesterday about the new sport skimo, and it was as chaotic as expected. From an Australian perspective, Phil Bellingham made it through the heats to the semi-finals but couldn't do enough to make the last 6. And in the curling, the gold medal match in the men's has been decided. Great Britain will take on Canada. Yes, that Canada, the team with the guy accused of cheating. They needed an extra end to beat Norway, but got it done. I'm Poppy Penny, and this is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Ed Gooden. Thanks to TNT Sports, 60 Minutes US, Skating ISU, and US Figure Skating for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio, and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.